because everybody has cancer every day. We've learned this, right? Many years ago. But
That's the title of the video. Everybody has cancer all the time. You're screwed. You know what I was just thinking, actually? I should, at some point, maybe I should do combine these worlds of live streaming and podcasting, and I should be like, welcome back, Felix, to the 14-hour marathon podcast where we're going to talk and either love each other or hate each other at the end of 14 hours.
Yeah, we're just going to talk about everything and anything.
Yeah, I think that'd be I wonder if people would watch that. I mean, people do watch this kind of stuff, so maybe if it was interesting enough.
Yeah, but I think if Joe Rogan can't do it, then I'm not sure if I can.
Fair enough. Well, my friend Felix Mueller. That's how you say your last name properly, right? Felix Mueller?
Yeah, in English, yeah.
How do you say it in German?
Müller.
Oh, Mueller.
Yeah, but you got to have the U with the two dots, right? Which is difficult for American speakers.
It is. I have a good accent when it comes to like Greek and certain Mediterranean languages, maybe Italiano. But
why?
Never, because I'm Greek and Italian.
We're going to show you that everything is Greek.
And Greek is everywhere.
Frappe.
Okay. Yeah.
And I spoke a little bit of Greek when I was a kid, not too much.
Mm-hmm.
But okay, Felix, welcome to episode whatever this is of the Connector podcast, 9 maybe. We'll see when it comes out. I'm not sure. I'm happy to have you on here, man. It's we've been friends online for I think 3-4 months now, more maybe, close to 6 months,
something around that.
Yeah, we met just from some casual outreach. I thought you were cute, and I was like, "Hey, baby." No, I was just
no, you were very cute about it all.
Oh, thank you. No, it's professional outreach. We chatted. We actually became friends, clients, and working together a little bit now, which is fun. And I thought, you know what? You got a really cool story, man. You're my only German friend at the moment, living in Germany. You are a master biohacking health detective. Your page is reversing PKD, which, correct me if I'm wrong, Polycystic Kidney Disease is what that stands for?
Yes.
Awesome. And you had it yourself. I want you to tell a little bit of your story. You had it yourself, and I was just watching your video on your website, actually, and I think you said, as far as you know, you're the only person to successfully reverse it as of now.
Yeah. I mean, we got to be specific about the word reverse, right? It's it just means turn to the other direction, right? I still have it. It's there. You can see it on the ultrasound and whatever, but it's moving into the other direction or stable, somewhere between those two. But we're not growing, which is the important thing that you want, right?
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, correct me again if I'm wrong on this, Dave Asprey wrote the foreword to your book, I believe?
Yes.
That
cool. Was quite the
there we go.
quite the feat.
I got to go full Asprey.
Yeah, you got the biohacker glasses. That's great. Yeah, I got mine in the next room.
I love it. So tell me a bit about how that happened, man. I know you have a book. You obviously you're doing awesome work. I love this, this idea of being a health detective, trying to help people uncover the mysteries of things that are going wrong, being a biohacker. It's this new era of holistic medicine and holistic health that I think is taking over in a way that I like. I like where it's going. Obviously, there's some quacks out there, as there are in anything, but sure. I do not think of you as a duck or a quack. Hence why we're talking and why we're friends. So yeah, man, tell me a little bit more about how this, not just the medical condition, but how did that turn into you becoming now an entrepreneur and getting a foreword written by Dave Asprey? And if anybody that doesn't know, founder of, they call him like the grandfather or the father of biohacking, invented Bulletproof coffee. He has his company Danger Coffee, amongst others. So big name. So to be able to land that as a forward is pretty cool, man.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty cool as well. So first, thanks for having me. This is great.
Of course.
Yeah, and the whole story is it's been going on since 2014, 13, somewhere around that area. I was sort of not feeling very unusual. I was feeling fine, going about my life, in the early phases of my studies, which was film directing back then. And at some point, I started getting some weird issues. Like first, I got like hay fever, which I never had. Then I got like weird heart arrhythmias, so like missed beats. People don't know what that is. Then I went to my doctor, as these things go, and I told him about that. And I said, these past couple months, I've been having missed beats in my heartbeat. What's up with that? And he said, that's fine. I have that too. You're getting older. That's what it is. And I said, really? Are you serious? I mean, I'm like 21. Is that your diagnosis? Yeah. So I guess I was 21, so it was even earlier. It was like 2011. So I thought that can't be it. But I did some internet research and stuff, and then I found like magnesium, right? Amazing, amazing discovery. Started taking some magnesium, and that like halved the incidence of those arrhythmias. So I found the relaxing properties of magnesium. But I told my doctor about that, and he was not impressed. He was not interested. He was not impressed. And that was sort of a total disconnect for me, because I couldn't fathom how this guy, who has the same problem as he says, is not interested in this amazing discovery, which, I didn't fix my problem, but it made it better. Of course, the reason was not a magnesium deficiency. Having adequate magnesium makes your body more resilient in handling other issues. Took me 13 years to finally find out what happened back then. Do you want to know?
Indeed we do, Felix.
It was black mold.
Oh, wow.
So I had a girlfriend back then. She was living in an apartment that had black mold in the bathroom. And I was there maybe, I don't know, once or twice a week, something like that, as you do in your 20s. And
let's be honest, it was every day.
Yeah, boy.
No, I did not have time or transport for that. And that seems to have colonized. So as I later learned, a genetic test is that I do not have a gene that's called HLA-DR, which 25% of people don't have. And if you don't have that, then mold and other fungus just takes hold in your body if you're unlucky, and it's not going away. So I kept having those problems because the mold had colonized, like in sinuses and in the gut, and just starts living there, and that's when you start having all these chronic issues, because the immune system is constantly triggered. And you have these constant ongoing attacks, and your body's trying to get rid of that stuff, but it can't, because that gene is very important for it, and I don't have it. So I didn't know that back then. So I only found out the mold stuff a couple years ago, right? So back then, 2011, I had no idea. And my situation got a bit worse, over the years, and I got a bit, burnt out, I guess. Just the combination, I guess, of the biological insults that I was getting from the mold, and then also having a very stressful environment in my studies, led to me basically having full on adrenal fatigue. Getting up in the morning was very hard for me. I was taking a bath in the morning every day for half an hour at least to just be able to get up out of bed. I was late for school every day because of that, because with that kind of morning routine, you're not getting up early because you need the sleep, but then also you need to sort of warm up with the external help that you can get from the bath. So I was feeling very, very bad at that time. And then I decided to just stop my studies. I took a year hiatus, right? Switched to another university that took on the same materials, so I could continue my studies there a year later. And I used that year to learn everything that I could about biology. And then very early on, I found this podcast, Dave Asprey, Bulletproof Radio back then. He's renamed it, but in my heart, it will always be Bulletproof Radio, because I think the word bulletproof is just, it's just such a hopeful message, right? To be bulletproof and to be resilient in this life, right? We're not made out of paper. We can be strong, but we have to learn how to do that. And I thought it was fascinating. I don't even know how I found this guy, but when I found this podcast, which even podcasting was very new back then, and for me that was the first podcast that I ever listened to. And then I started like listen to all of his episodes, right? Like from number 1 to like at that time it was, I don't know, 800 maybe. So I listened to all of these freaking episodes, maybe bar like 5 or something that I really didn't care about. Because I thought there has to be something in here that can tell me what I have, because the word burnout didn't exist in my vocabulary. I just knew that I was feeling bad. That was all. I had no idea what that was. And, family members just said, maybe you just go to a psychiatric ward, they'll get you sorted out. Great advice. Yeah. And then and in some episode, I found this guy who was working with hormones. And I looked up his method and I contacted a practitioner who was doing it in the UK. So I saved up a lot of my money and booked the guy, and he was helping me like test my hormones and then give me the right supplements to restore hormones to the normal levels. And that took me about 6 months, and I was feeling like 90% back to normal, right? I don't know if you ever get to 100% after adrenal burnout, but it takes like the first 90% you can get very quick, and then the rest takes years, right, to really heal up everything. But with that help of those hormones, you can go really quick. And that was sort of my first introduction to this whole reality that you can fix your own health if you know what's wrong.
Yeah.
And most of the time you don't. Just like, yeah. Also in that period, I started changing my diet, right? Bulletproof diet. And just by accident, I went to the nephrologist, as I do every year. And in one of those years, he did an ultrasound on my kidney. And then he said, this looks smaller than last year, but this is probably just a measuring error. And that's very possible because ultrasound is very inaccurate, right? You just push it in a little more or a little less, you're going to see a centimeter difference. So, but he said, if you want to know for sure, let's do an MRI. And I said, sure, that's great. Because I sort of had a hunch that something might have changed, right?
Yeah.
I didn't know, but I had a hunch. And it took a little time to get the MRI. I think it took a year or something. It was very slow because, the insurance has to pay for it and everything. So, but then I finally got the MRI, and luckily I had an MRI for a couple of years ago that I could compare it to. And then we finally got the result that it was 7% smaller than 3 years prior.
Awesome. So
instead of 3% per year growth, I had almost 3% per year shrinkage, right?
Wow.
Which is if you take the years cumulative, that's 10% different or something. So that's really good because that was the first. Basically, there's no documented case of shrinkage, except if they give you a very extreme post-transplant medication like rapamycin that's depressing your immune system, which is interesting. But it doesn't really happen, and people don't get it, and especially not if they don't have any operation. Yeah, and that was a huge moment in my life because it showed that there was something that you could do about this genetic condition, which everybody always says if it's genetic, then you can just switch off your brain and go back to Netflix. But it's not that way, right? Every genetic condition is just some code that changes some kind of protein or metabolism of a protein, metabolism of some substances. And the case of PKD, it also took me, of course, many years to figure out what was happening there. But in case of PKD, probably the main mechanism is the ketogenic diet that is part of Bulletproof.
Mm. And who actually when did you know it was PKD specifically?
But yeah, that was, before I started talking about all this stuff. So maybe it was, I keep getting these numbers wrong, but I think it was around 16, could have been 13 years old. I wasn't really conscious of that back then because I just knew I had some genetic stuff that my dad also had, and that somewhat an issue. But I do remember very vividly when I was 16 years old, that was the point where we found out that my dad had it and my grandma had it. And that was a huge emotional upset because the the nephrologist that was diagnosing this in my father, they were so incompetent. I mean, they literally told him, your liver is full of cysts, your kidney is full of cysts, so we can't transplant either of them, so you probably have a couple months. So they, like in 2006, they were not educated enough to know about the prognosis with PKD, which is very clear in the literature. And his kidney function was fine, at that point. So totally, I mean, he was like, he thought he was going to die in a couple months, and he acted the part, right? Very unfortunate behavior of that nephrologist. So yeah, that gave me a little bit of PTSD, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting that, and I don't mean to put any medical professionals down by saying this, but a lot of them, and what I've realized, my mom's a pharmacist. I've been around the medical industry a lot in my life. I've met a lot of doctors and different people. Anyways, my point being, a lot of these folks get trained professionally in school. They do their 4-year undergrad. They do their 4, 5, 6-year post-grad. They get whatever their specialty is, right? They spend all this time in school being educated by a system that's often funded by big pharma. And they know what they know, and they're smart, and they're good at what they do. But because now they're so busy and inundated with work and patients, a lot of them don't take the time, maybe they don't have the time, especially if they have a family, they don't take the time to continue their education, especially through holistic medicine. So for those that just believe everything that they're told, like if I go to university, which I did, of course I'm going to believe what I'm told. I'm in university. That's what university is. Most people when they're young don't think, oh, we might be being fed misleading information, partial information, incorrect information, big pharma funded information. So a lot of these people, I believe they believe they're doing a good work. But
for sure.
Unfortunately, the traditional medical system, I think, has been unraveling in the last, decade in many ways that I think people don't know where to go, which, going back to my first comment, then that leads to a lot of crazy wannabe holistic medical practitioners selling and promoting all these random garbage supplements that are not NSF certified, that are not, they're just full of chalk or whatever. So it leads to this wild, wild west of holistic medicine. So anyways, that being said, love for you to continue on. Yeah. So that journey, then how did that lead into becoming an entrepreneur and deciding I want to help others with this?
Yeah. So I found out that had this impact, and then I spent like the year that I had between studies researching on PubMed, right? I read stuff. And like back then, there was nothing dietary on PKD in the literature, like nothing, zero. And then I found that there was molecularly a lot of similarity between PKD and cancer. Because in both diseases, you have uncontrolled growth, right? Stuff grows that you don't necessarily want to grow. The question is, why is it growing in each case? And that might be different. But as soon as you're growing, you need the same mechanism. The cells just need the same messenger molecules. Like mTOR is one of them. It's called mammalian target of rapamycin. It's a molecule in the body that is used for every kind of growth, even if it's muscle growth, right? So it's needed for everything. And I noticed that there was a similarity between those two, and there was a paper showing, and that was back then, it was just like 1 or 2 years old, that paper, that in PKD, the so-called Warburg effect is active, which is also active in cancer, which basically means your cells are switching over from using oxygen and glucose to just using glucose. So they just don't use the oxygen, which means that as soon as the cells do that, it means that growth is coupled to energy production. So as soon as the cell needs more energy, it's going to grow more, which is unfortunate, right? It has a reason, molecularly speaking, but for the human that is limited in space, it's a problem, right? That's a mechanism that's back from the times where we were in the ocean, right? As bacteria. And back then it was fine to just expand and expand because the ocean is large enough for everybody. But as soon as you're in a human...
I still identify as a bacteria.
Yeah. Well, we were not bacteria, but I'm saying like the mitochondria that are in us, they are derivative of bacteria.
I'm just joshing.
No, just for anyone listening that knows biology. So I'm not saying we were. Yeah. So single-celled organisms is what the right terms. So that was in the papers, and then there were in cancer, there was already papers showing that if you want to inhibit the Warburg effect, you can either use chemicals that are similar to glucose, but they cannot be used like glucose, so they just block the receptor, right? The cell is trying to use glucose, can't, therefore it dies, right? But then also in cancer, they had another method which was sort of talked about, and the Warburg effect. This effect could be slowed down or blocked with just switching part of the body over from glucose to ketones, which is a form of fat, right? It's what your body makes out of fat. So I just basically, after doing, of course, a lot of research to find those two, I put those two together, and I thought, oh, yes, that's what I'm doing. Yes, I wanted to say, and then I said yes to censor myself, but I guess we don't have to do that here.
It's okay, I can bleep it.
Yes. Yeah, so the information basically was out there, but nobody was being the guy to put two and two together, right? Which is that's the guy that I am now, right? I put two and two together because you need a very wide perspective, like a 20,000 foot view, if you want to put things together that haven't been put together. And of course, you need to do research and everything, but you need sort of a specific type of mind structure. And like I always imagine this whole thing that I built in my head is like a huge shelf in a big storage house, and it has all these different boxes and different ways that you can get up here, and have like a big tree on that shelf with different highways that go here and there. And you can always expand it, but you always know where to put stuff because there's always an adjacent region that I've already sort of heard about or connected to. So yeah, that was the beginning of that. And I started a Facebook group talking about these findings that I had, and it's called Healing Polycystic Kidney Disease Naturally. I spent a lot of time thinking about that name, and it worked very well to be found through the Facebook search algorithm. And people were pouring in, Of course, it took a year or two until people were actually doing the stuff that I wrote about. But yeah, they started doing it, and we started to get the first couple people that are reading my blog post that I put on there, and starting to implement the diet. And of course, it's not just a diet, right? I kept researching. I found supplements that trigger those specific pathways that are dysregulated in PKD, and exercise can be done in a good or in a bad way. So I've put all of these things together, right, to optimize everything towards this goal, right? But also never recommending something that you wouldn't recommend for general health. So there are some shiny supplements right? Maybe you've heard of this. Resveratrol is one of them. That people, it's like this extract from grape seeds. It's very fancy, but I've never liked the research on it because if you wanted to use it in PKD, it would maybe lower the growth, but it would also maybe lower your lifespan in that case. No, sorry, I'm flipping it around. So resveratrol will increase, in theory, your lifespan, but it might also increase cyst lifespan. But then on the other hand, there's other molecules that do the opposite. But then also, I've just decided not to mess with that pathway because in that pathway, our interests aren't aligned, right? The cyst growth is not aligned with the lifespan. We want them to both be in the right direction with any supplement, right? Yeah, so that's the way that I think, right? I always want to find the stuff that's pro life extension and then also pro limiting cyst growth. So yeah, we got people pouring in. It's been there for 10 years now, the group. We're now at 6,500 members who have it.
Amazing.
Which is in that area, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, especially for a very niche medical group. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's all people that have found us by searching for us, right? It's not ads or anything.
Yeah, you didn't pay $15
and then
to run your ad in India?
No. Maybe I should have, but no. That's no. We just got people who are the real deal, you know. And I don't sell stuff in there. It's I don't even really offer my coaching there much. People know that I do it. But like when I comment on posts, it's not like you know, I'll tell you more about this if you become a client. It's you know, if I'm going to answer, then I'm just going to answer the question. It's yeah, and then in 2019, so that was about 3 years after I founded the group. I get this update in my newsfeed, and it says first study is done on ketogenic diet in PKD mice and rats and cats or something. And I was like, "Where's this coming from?" I mean, that's amazing, right? But also, it's curious. Like the alignment of the timeline is curious. And then literally like a day later, the head scientist of that group writes me a private message. And he says, yeah, you know, I found your group just today. Sure.
Yeah, just today.
Yeah, I just wanted to hear a little bit about your experiences with how that's going in real life. And, you know, I was totally fine to like talk to him about it, because I was very happy that study had been done.
Right.
But I'm sure that he had my profile open for a couple months before that, and I was waiting for the moment where nobody could say that he got the idea somewhere else.
I mean, hey, at the end of the day, at least there's progress in this issue moving forward, right? So
yes.
I'm sure it feels good for you regardless.
Yes, for sure. No, and I think it's super important that we get studies. And now it's like there's at least 12 papers now that talk about ketogenic diet and PKD.
Awesome.
And I found it. I found it. You know, I found it, and now it's in the literature. And of course, it's not the end of the story, right? It's not gonna get rid of the cysts. It's just gonna sort of give you a pause button. Not also doesn't work for everyone. There's some people who just it doesn't seem to do the same that it did for me. Also, we might see in some point in the future it stops working, even for me. You know, that life happens. I don't know. We've seen good results for now. We've seen that same good result in the literature, like in animal studies. It all looks very convincing, but I think there's new frontiers to go to that are more, maybe a bit more advanced. But I think the gut is involved in that whole process. And I think there's very convincing literature already out there showing that is the case. Also, there are now studies coming out showing that, which is also interesting after I've said this. But yeah, which is great. I also want to see that more of that. I hope they're going to hone in something else there. Yeah, but I think the ketogenic stuff, the cool thing about the ketogenic stuff is it's going to probably help, like, I don't know, 90% of people out there. Because most people are so into carbs and eating processed stuff, and you know, if you go,
I'm a perpetrator there.
Yeah, well, I mean, we all are to some extent. We all like it.
Yeah, but you've never had poutine. Have you been to Canada?
Oh, that's true. I've been to Canada for like, I don't know, 1 week or so, but I haven't tried it. That was a mistake.
Well, if you have poutine, there's no going back. Or as the Quebecois say, poutine.
Then, what is it, like fries with topping?
Yeah, it's fries with cheese curds and gravy, but specifically cheese curds. They got to be squeaky. Yeah, it's very simple.
I think they make it wrong.
It's very
here.
comforting.
I found it at one food festival.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, places in America or all over the world will just put like mozzarella or something. It's not.
Yeah.
Well, the fries get soggy. You got to go on that thing fast. You're not ordering it to take out. You got to you order it and then you stand right outside of the place and you got to down it right away. It's like ice cream.
Oh, okay. I thought you liked the soggy stuff.
Oh, do I give you that vibe? Do I give you a soggy vibe?
No, I thought that was just like a given for anybody eating poutine.
No. Actually, I always ask for the fries extra well done so that they stay crispier longer and it takes longer for the gravy to penetrate the fry crust, you know?
That makes sense.
That's the hack, folks. Anybody listening, if you get anything from this podcast, it's nothing medical, it's nothing useful, it's only get your fries extra crispy when you order poutine.
Twice fried.
Twice fried. That's so funny.
No, you're gonna get the Cedos. That's forbidden.
Okay, then only go somewhere where they fry it in tallow or something like that.
Oh yeah. Oh, that would be cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I actually started using beef tallow. I think it has like, what does mine have? Frankincense, myrrh. It's like the Jesus spices. Frankincense, myrrh, and lavender, I think. And I use a beef tallow moisturizer now.
Oh, it's for your face. I was just saying that's gonna be a weird taste on your fries.
No. Yeah, it's gonna be holy fries. That's what that is.
Yes.
No, I use it for my face.
Great.
Yeah, it's been going well. It's you only put a little bit on, and the good thing is because it's an oil, right? It's a fat. Once I put on my face, I can then use it in my beard, and I can use it there too.
You can just distribute it everywhere.
Yeah, double performing.
Yeah.
I have a question that maybe you don't have a lot of thoughts on this, and we don't have to probe too deep, but that was a good choice of words, actually. Speaking of probe, I've heard a number of serious people, not just a random YouTube video, folks talking about, because you made that link between cancer and PKD and the similarity cellularly and whatnot. I've heard people talk about how they were fine with their cancer until they got a biopsy and released all of that cancerous material into the body, because like the cyst or the cancer, what the heck is the name I'm looking for? The tumor. Thank you. The tumor itself is actually your body's way of protecting the body from all of the gunk that it's collecting. So when they do a biopsy and they poke at it and prod at it, they're actually opening and exposing all of that toxic material now to your body, which a lot of times people get a biopsy and then essentially go downhill fast. So have you seen similarities potentially in PKD, and if that's not even relevant, what's your thoughts on that cancer-wise, if you have thoughts?
Yeah, no, it's super relevant, and I've recently gotten in touch with the author of the most recent super interesting cancer book, which is called Cancer Resolutions by Mark Lintern. It's a UK guy, so right around the corner from me. Funnily enough, he's also a graphic designer by trade who got cancer and then started researching for 8 years and then wrote this book, which is like 500 pages, which is fascinating. And I got into contact with him because of these parallels, which also includes what you're just talking about with biopsy. Yeah. In both cases, so he might actually, like after we talked, he has a new theory, which is that a cyst might be sort of an immature form of cancer, so that maybe even the tumor might start in a small cyst and then sort of changes. But yeah, in both cases, you're trying to conserve something, like keep it inside and protect the rest of the body from it. I mean, even if you get like some parasites, the body will make a cyst around it. And also in PKD and in cancer, but like in PKD, it's not controversial. In PKD, it's very clear. If you take the cyst from a fluid, if you take the fluid from a cyst, you pull it out, and yet you put it even on tissue that doesn't even have the freaking gene problem. Just standard kidney tissue off the shelf, put the fluid on there, it will grow a cyst. So It's very likely that it's just the normal reaction of the body to this stuff to encapsulate it into a cyst. And then the reverse experiment has also been done. So these people probably don't even know of each other. But there was a guy who did the experiment in the reverse way, took a kidney cyst, human kidney cyst, put it into a petri dish, removed the cyst fluid, put back salt water. 72 hours later, cyst is gone. It's just normal kidney tissue again. So as soon as you don't have anything to encapsulate, the body notices, oh, we're done with this. Great. Let's tear this down and be normal again. And so Mark Lintern, I can only recommend reading that book. He says, he doesn't just say this, he has like 500 references in this book. It's amazing. He found that the tumor is trying to conserve. Is that the right word? Conserve? It's trying to keep inside.
Yeah.
Is that? Yeah. Okay. It's trying to conserve a mold toxin or the fungus. And the fungus is sort of hijacking the cell, and the cell tries to defend itself by using the Warburg effect that we just talked about earlier, right? The cell stops using oxygen for energy. It only uses glucose, as we talked about before, right? And then it uses the oxygen as a weapon to oxidize the fungus. And of course, in 99% of cases, tumors are a thing of a couple days, maybe a couple of hours, you know? It's microscopic, very small, kill off the pathogen with oxidation, and then they're done and they dissipate. When they get this large, this is a very, very small fraction of all cancer, right? Because everybody has cancer every day. We've learned this, right? Many years ago. But
that's the title of the video. Everybody has cancer all the time. You're screwed.
Well, or you're not, because your body is very good at dealing with it, right?
Yes.
Cancer is a symptom, right? It's not the cause. Cancer is basically it's to fight off probably fungus, and the tumor is reproducing because as long as you're not using oxygen for energy, you have to grow while you're staying alive. That's just how it works. It's wired that way, and it's trying to attack this fungus. It can't kill it because the immune system is not well enough. So you can either, try and kill the fungus in some other way, which of course, there's there's a couple of anecdotes on that, of course, as there is with many stuff, with many things, of people that, have tried all the things and then they do an antifungal treatment for something else and then their cancer is gone. Of course, it's not going to work for everybody. But if I had cancer and I knew that I had cancer, then I would probably do all the fungus tests and I would get rid of all the fungus that comes up on those tests. Like you can do urine tests, you can do saliva tests, you can do blood tests, you can do stool tests. And I would just treat that and see what happens, right? Because you're probably going to help the immune system get rid of that stuff.
Wow. So interesting. I'm curious your thoughts. Do you think, how we look back on like 1700s, steampunk England, that the Sherlock Holmes style era. And we're like, we think, wow, what, even though they were advanced today, to us, they're like savages, right? There's so much bacteria, there's so much disease, there's so much lack of hygiene. And we look at that and we think, wow, how primitive, and all the diseases that they did have to deal with, or sepsis, or all these things that we don't really deal with now. Do you think in 50 years, 100 years, we're going to look back and be like, cancer? I can't believe we lost so many people to that trivial symptom. Like, do you feel like we're trending in that direction?
I think that's a political question, which is good, right? In the way that I think we've already probably solved it 10 times over, but it's never been published properly. Because exactly. Because these things, they don't make money. These small treatments, and chemo it's a freaking over $1 billion industry. They make so much money, like on your last couple breaths, right? So yeah, I think that is to be seen, depending on if the people manage to make a form of government that favors things that work in general.
Or until the profit margins shift to the cure and to something else, so they can, oh, hey guys, hey, guess what? Good news.
Yes. Well, we'll see. I mean, they're trying to push this new, what is it called? Cancer vaccine now. I don't know how that's going to go. We'll see. So I guess best case scenario, it's going to work, and then you're going to have new cancer every year, and then you're going to have to use it again and again, because you're always going to make your immune system hyper focused on whatever you inject, right? And then as soon as that's gone, you still have the fungus, so it's just going to take hold somewhere else, and then you're going to have new cells that have to be vaccinated against, and then you're going to, that might be the new cash cow that I see coming.
Wow. Isn't that crazy how it's even everyday people now are, what did I just hear the other day? It was similar to this, where people were asked on this podcast, like, if we had the cure for cancer, if we had, a way to get to the moon, or if we had, whatever the thing was, the reaction was like, oh, the government wouldn't tell us, or the government would, and then they had a conversation about, wait a minute, how are we all maybe have different political opinions or whatever, but we all agree the government wouldn't tell us this major. Oh, I think it was aliens. Like, if there were aliens, would they tell us? And they all said no. And then it's like, but why? Or and then I think it went into like flat Earth, and it went to all these other things. It's like, no, they wouldn't tell us. But then the question is, why? Why wouldn't they tell us these basic, groundbreaking things? And it shows that I think nobody actually trusts their government.
Yes, they really fucked up COVID, and then now there's like 50% of people that have seen that they have been very much lied to in so many aspects. And if you lie to the people in one aspect, then you lose trust in all the aspects, right?
Yeah, unless you're North Korea and everything is a lie, so the people believe you're a god, and then everyone believes you and trusts you.
Yeah, that's the question. I don't know. Do North Koreans really believe that, or is that just the front that they have to present?
Who knows? Have you seen that girl who escaped North Korea, and she's been on like Joe Rogan's podcast and a few others? And,
she's fascinating.
Yeah, and now apparently the South Korea is electing new leadership that is like, I don't want to get this wrong, but they're not good apparently for free speech, for democracy, for like they want to. I forget all the details. I won't say much more on it.
Kim Jong too.
Yeah, there's some weird stuff going on in South Korea, and people are very, very concerned. I think they've been like closing down churches and limiting speech and all this other kind of stuff. So
sounds like
I don't know, man. It's a very strange time across Europe, Asia, North America, the world.
Yeah. It's we're in sort of the end times of certain elements of this current society, and we'll see what we switch over into. Which is, it's interesting that you brought up the aliens, because if the government always lies, then what does it mean that they now not just are saying aliens are real, but then also are telling us that like there's like this ship that is coming towards Earth, right? Have you seen that?
I haven't seen anything in the last few days, if it's recent.
No, like I think last month or maybe 2 months ago, there was a news story about this professor who says there's this rock that is heading towards Earth, and it has changed direction, so it's probably not a rock.
I think I've seen a few things.
Yeah. So that's this guy Stephen Greer. I don't know if you know him.
Sounds familiar.
He's the UFO guy, and he claims that he's been briefing presidents on the UFO topic for like 30-40 years, is what he's claiming. It's of course hard to find out if it's true, but for as long as I can remember, he's been saying at some point they're going to go either with the meteor or the alien invasion narrative if they need a world government, or if they need to somehow dissipate dissent to focus people on something else. And like this weird news story of the Harvard guy, now that they have the whole Israel-Palestine thing going on where they need people focused somewhere else, that is the timing that probably, I mean, if we're seeing an invasion before 2030, I don't believe it.
I'm on the same page, man, that if they need a reason to bring in some kind of one world government, one world order, I think they're going to need to collectively unite humanity against something that's probably extraterrestrial, right? So, and then you think like, well, what was the point? It feels like the point with COVID was to see how easily manipulatable we are as just sheep people. And then they're like, okay, so we can convince them to just take anything and do anything and stay inside and be afraid. So I always felt like genuinely it was a test. It was a worldwide test. And what does that mean? Does that mean governments are organized against the world? Does that mean there's 3 families who control the world? What does that mean? I don't know. Is it the Illuminati? Is it Donald Trump?
Yeah.
Is it the UN? Is it Netanyahu? You know what I mean?
Or are they even coordinating? Or is it just a bunch of people who all have a lot of power, but they sort of align in what they want, and then it looks like it's one thing, but it's not?
Sure. And
or it's the reptilians, right?
There you go. And they're at the center of the earth controlling everything.
Yes, for sure.
They're in Atlantis. They're actually outside of the Antarctica ice wall border, and they're controlling us like puppets.
Yeah.
Honestly, man,
I've actually looked into a lot of the like documentaries that do the flat Earth stuff, because I just look at all this stuff and I want to see the evidence, right? I want to see what people come up with. I wasn't convinced. I thought that like there was this great moment in this anti-flat Earth documentary. I think it was on Netflix, where like the guy goes with this boat down the lake, and they're trying with a laser pointer to see if the point moves on the sail of the boat, because that would mean the boat's going down, right?
Mm-hmm.
If the point is going higher and higher, that means the boat's going lower. And then they inadvertently prove that it's a sphere, because he's actually going down, which is the end of the documentary, which is funny. But the one thing that I could really get behind, like, it would be, just in theory, it would be the best way to keep people away from the ice wall. It's just saying, you wrap around this little flat thing,
mm-hmm.
and it's not an ice wall, it's a circle at the bottom. So there's no point in trying to go over this little circle, because you're just going to come out the other side.
Right.
That would be like, if it was a movie, that would be the ultimate prison. Hot prison. You're never going to try to get out. I mean, that's just genius.
This is your new movie, man. You said you're a filmmaker. I've seen a little bit of your stuff there. So maybe this is you could cast me as I'll be the rugged pilot who was cast away and fell into alcoholism and lost his family, but I'm the only one. You found my evidence from years ago, and I'm the only one that knows, and you call me up and you're like, we need you,
and
Captain.
You've given up on it already,
Captain Johnson. We need you. And I'm like, no, that's not me anymore, Felix. And then we get in my biplane. I know that's weird, that's too old. Biplane. We get in my Cessna, or rickety Cessna, and I call her
doppeldecker.
I call her Old Faithful. This is Sheila. She never let me down. And then we get tracked by the world governments, and I've gone deep in these rabbit holes. I've seen and heard of CIA that have their or whoever they are, CIA style security that are in these bases in Antarctica. And not only are they there physically, but they actually astral project themselves. They remote view and guard the premises in like the astral plane, so that they can also protect against spiritual, like, dude. I've met people that have told me, like, I've remote viewed some of these sites, and they have guards. They have guards that, like, she saw their bodies and they were just in a chair, because they themselves are also remote protecting, like. Believe this stuff, don't believe this stuff, whatever. I find it fascinating in general.
Think it's very interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know what is a fact? Like 20 years ago, when I was first on the internet researching stuff, it was very easy to find articles saying that most of Antarctica is no trespassing.
Yeah.
They're all gone. They're gone, these articles. I mean, you can book a cruise now. To Antarctica. You can go on land, you can walk around, you can even go to the pole, apparently. So I don't know what happened there, because there was no like official, we're done with protecting this, you can now go. I wonder if they like manipulate GPS and they just tell you're at the pole, but you're not. I don't know how they're doing it, but like I'm telling you, 20 years ago, it was public pages that were saying very simply, this is all military zone. You cannot go there. And all these pages have disappeared from the internet.
Yeah. Just look up the Antarctic Treaty if you can find it. And it's like every major government all around the world has signed this treaty to essentially make it a no-go zone. But it's so, this is kind of going back to what I said in the very beginning, right? Is I don't know anything if I haven't experienced it myself. And at the end of the day, it's like I find being so open to knowledge and open to rabbit holes, or open. If you hear this kind of stuff and you're like, you're crazy. How do you know? Because your teacher in grade 9 in geography told you something based out of a textbook that's government funded. Listen, I'm not saying the Earth is flat and there's aliens and lizards in Antarctica. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, why do you believe what you believe, and why do you get angry when somebody questions those things? Because it's a weird response that we're seeing from, whether it's, oh, you're unvaccinated, oh, you're vaccinated, oh, well, I'm not, and like I remember, so I'm not. I've said this on the podcast. I don't care. I never got it during COVID and all that. I don't care if you are. I don't care if you're not. But dude, the violent reaction that people, you're
Totally.
not. Dude, I had dates that said they don't want to see me again, or never
Really?
even, they didn't want to go on the date in the first place because I'm unvaccinated.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
to be able to create that delusion.
I mean, the
and
other
that
way around, I
perception.
can get it, but this way is weird.
Yeah, it's like, and so the point being is people often have violent and angry reactions when someone questions their belief system. And I think, and in my perspective, if my belief systems are truly rooted in genuine facts and logic and reasoning, like, for example, the reason I would call myself a Christian today with my faith is because I've done so much research and digging into the historical evidence of Jesus Christ and the New
Nice.
Testament documents and so if we don't know anything about history, if we don't know Jesus was a real person, at least everybody else from Alexander the Great to, ancient Greece and all these, it's all fiction. If we can't say Jesus was a real person, because we have far more evidence documentarily, historically, geographically, we have far more evidence about that time and that place and specifically him than anybody else. Now, I'm not saying you got to go be a Christian right now because did he rise from the dead? Well, that's where people will debate. And that's where, again, you got to look at the evidence of what happened after, what happened before. Anyways, my point is not meant to make this a sermon. My point being, I'm stronger in my faith because I've done digging and I've seen a lot of evidence that, for me, it convinced me. It was an overwhelming amount of actual evidence. But if you tell me something contrary, you say, Josh, no, I'm a Muslim. Josh, I'm an atheist. Josh, I'm okay. Cool. Hey,
Yeah,
you want to talk
cool.
about it?
Yeah,
Like, you're not
exactly.
going to offend me because my belief is rooted in logic and reasoning. But if I had a very weak belief in faith or something, and now you start questioning, I might get offended and I might get violent because I actually don't really have a strong rooted belief. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. And I think I used to watch a lot of Richard Dawkins back in the day.
Sure. Yeah.
But when I was a hardcore atheist, which I'm not anymore. But like he had this scene which is very cool. With a class full of students, or like younger school girls and boys, and he was asking them like what they believe about religion and history, and then he went on to show them some fossils that they found themselves on the beach, right? These ancient creatures, and then he said, why do you believe what you believe, right? And then they talked for a bit, and then they arrived at, because that was the first thing that someone told me. And then they said, then he said, do you think it's a good idea to believe something because that was the first thing that somebody told you? As the only basis for believing it. And then they all found very clearly the same conclusion, which is no, that's not it's not a good reason to believe anything. Yeah. And then, we got to find out our own information, do your own research, right?
Yeah. It's funny. It's ironic. Watching hours and hours of Dawkins, Christopher Hitchens, these kind of guys debate, I've watched them debate Muslims. I don't believe in Islam, but I want to see logic and reasoning towards different sides. I've watched them debate Christians. I've watched them debate each other. And it's I think there's having healthy debate, iron sharpens iron kind of thing, right? You need to be able to really test your ideas, because you might have an idea and think, oh, this is brilliant. I'm so brilliant. Then you go talk to someone with an opposing view and they tear it down immediately. And you're like, oh shit, I didn't realize the flaw that was so clear, but it wasn't clear to me because I was in that moment. So,
or even a blind spot. They might just bring up an aspect that you've never thought about, and then you need a couple of weeks or months or years to learn about that, and you might still have a version of the same conclusion, but now you've extended it with this new aspect, right?
Yeah.
But it's interesting that you said about like getting aggressive when you're faced with opposing views. And I've heard an interview by a guy compared that to hypnosis. Like some people in the like in China, whatever, they're doing even like open heart surgery without normal anesthesia. They're just using hypnosis, right?
Wow.
And he was saying these people, they're still, you could still talk to them, right? They're still awake. And if you were to approach them and try to break their hypnosis, they would also get very angry because you are threatening them with huge pain. Because you're threatening them with feeling their freaking surgery that they're having right now. So they are anticipating the pain, so they get angry. And of course, you don't disturb people in the open heart surgery. But the same thing could be said for if somebody's like, if their inner security hinges on the government being the good guys. And then now if you threaten somebody with destroying that belief, they'll get angry. And I think that mechanism is super interesting.
Very. I think what you're saying is, and breaking news right here on the Connector podcast, we live in the Matrix. I think that's what you're saying.
Are we in the Matrix? No.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Yes, that's official. It's official. Felix Mueller has admitted.
No, no. I think the simulation theory guys, that's just so, that's just so, I think it's so meta and it's redundant in a way, because like, if you like these people that are saying we're living a simulation, they're also saying it's most likely that the people who are doing the simulation, that this is their past, right? They are sort of simulating their own history. But you are extrapolating that from the simulation, which you have no idea what is going on around, like outside. So if you look at the computer games that we make now, this is nothing like real life. It's very different. So even if those guys in the computer game were now sentient and they came out to the conclusion it's a simulation, that if they could make the same argument, right? This is probably how the outside world looks too, and then we extrapolate. So everybody out there is like, made like Minecraft, I think this simulation theory, I think that's the fatal flaw. There are like the same thing that they use to justify it is also the thing that kills a theory, because you cannot extrapolate from the simulation how the outside world looks, which is then you're putting your your taste for doing your own simulations on the proposed gods out there, which of course you can say nothing about.
Very interesting. Hot takes. I love it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know this, the author of the original like manuscripts, and I think there was books as well, of the Terminator and of the Matrix. It's the same woman, actually. She's the one that wrote these books and these scripts. She said, and there's an interview out there, you can look this up, I'm not making it up, that the Terminator is actually the prequel for the Matrix. Technically, it's the sequel if you think of it like in time frame wise. So during the Matrix time frame, they sent back in time one of the machines to save this, John Connor, and then who's Sarah Connor. Like they sent them back so that the events of the Matrix would never take place, and they would beat the machines before they started, which was a Skynet, I believe, right? Was the organization in Terminator. So Skynet becomes the Matrix and the human harvest farming and all that. So the Matrix is actually the dystopian future if the Terminator movies resulted in the machines taking over.
Right. Yeah, I've heard that. Yeah. Now that you say it, I've heard it before.
Yeah,
that's super interesting.
Yeah, I always like fun niche connections like that. But it's interesting times we're living in too with AI. I know. It's crazy actually for everyone listening to this podcast. Felix is actually speaking in German the entire time.
Ooh, that's a bingo.
This is Google VO3 AI live translation at its finest.
Yeah, and you, of course, you're going to upload. Yeah, your German is not that bad.
Yeah, the one phrase I know.
But I want you to upload the German version of the podcast the day after this one airs, right?
Perfect. You know what I'll do? I'll do it like Mr. Beast. I'll go find some radio news hosts or some celebrities in Germany, and I'll ask them to dub this podcast properly with good tonality. And so Mr. Beast, I don't know if you know this, he actually, if he wants to put his video in Japan, he'll actually go find like Japanese like movie stars or like people who are podcasters and famous in Japan.
Really?
And he'll pay them to actually properly dub his videos, but with acting like the proper tonality. So that way his Japanese audience doesn't just get they don't just get boring like AI
so they
subtitles.
Actually watch it.
Yeah. I think it's brilliant. Cool. It's a really good idea.
Yeah. But making that for every language, I guess he picks and chooses the language that
probably
he
like his main,
right?
Yeah. There's probably like Hindi, Mandarin, like
Mm-hmm.
German, Italian. Yeah, probably some primary.
I've heard that actually from my publisher. They recommended that, or maybe not from them, but like somebody that was talking to me about publishing, and they said if you're gonna do translations for the book, then you should probably do Hindi and Mandarin next.
Interesting.
I thought, wow, that's quite the undertaking.
Have you done an audiobook yet?
Yeah, I've done the English audiobook.
Nice. And it's your voice? You did the narration?
I sat there for 4 days straight, sweating my balls off in this little like, you can imagine it like where Harry Potter lives, like at the Dursleys, right? There's a little door
in the staircase.
It is in the like it's the same shape. It's the same size, same shape, like maybe a bit smaller, and all the walls are like the foam stuff, and it's literally just enough to sit there with your laptop to read or with your tablet to read the stuff.
You went to a studio to do this?
So warm,
like a professional place.
Well, yes, but I know the guy, so and
Gotcha.
it sounds great, but it's very small. So
yeah. Well, so tell me what that process is like, actually, because I'm interested in this. I've written a very this little guy right here. That's my book, but it's super small. Doesn't need an audio book. It's a very small little read. But I do want to write more books, and I definitely have a desire for that. And then I'm thinking, because people have told me I have a decent speaking voice, and if I was going to write an audiobook, I always like the author reading it more than just a random dude.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
I would want to do that, but I would have no idea what the process is. I'd probably have to get a publisher and go the proper route. But
yeah,
how did you go about writing the book, publishing it, and then doing the audiobook process? What was that like in a nutshell?
Yeah, so I of course I had a lot of time to gather my thoughts for years. Because I was thinking about this all the time. And then I just one day decided that I was gonna try to just, the idea was I can't coach everybody. And maybe people that should be coached, but they don't have any funds, or they come from countries where they don't really have any funds. I want to give them an opportunity as well. And also just because all the stuff that I learned, I got from free resources, right? So I want to give back in the same way. And I do with my YouTube. And then I also learned a lot of stuff from books, which is almost free resources, right? So I was at a conference where John Gray was speaking. And he's like this famous relationship author. He's written 2 books that are very. He's written a lot of books, but 2 of them are very famous. First one is "Men Are from Mars, Women Are from Venus."
Yeah, I've heard. Yeah,
and he's done a second one that has a similar title from 2017, sort of the updated version. Amazing book. Like anybody that's in a relationship or wants to be in one, amazing read. I highly recommend it. And after this conference, because I was working there, we were interviewing him because I was working on the camera team. Volunteering back then. I asked, like a friend of mine asked him if he wanted to go to dinner with us, and we did, and we talked to him for like 3 hours or 4 hours or whatever. He had all these amazing stories, which is a whole nother thing to tell. But then at this event, I asked him like about his publisher and like what he thought about my idea to write a book, and he thought, no, that's great, and I should definitely do it. And then I got in contact with his publisher, and I wrote this 30-page outline of what I was going to write. Sent it to him. He took about a week mulling it over. He said, "Oh, it's very interesting. Let me run it by these people. They also like it. We're discussing it this week or next week or whatever." Took maybe 1 or 2 weeks, and then I got we decided not to go with it. Okay. But that sort of showed me, okay, this has enough merit that somebody is interested. It's not everybody at the company, but if just find another company, and eventually there will be people that are interested in it enough. And then I just researched a little bit, like which companies are out there that are doing health books, and I found like 3-4 that were sort of fitting the bill. And then I found this, okay, how do you pitch a book, right? And then I got this template, and I just on one day I just wrote it all down. I just filled out all the things, Just rolled it all down. I didn't even read it again. I just sent it off. You know, it's just like this 45-page document with everything in there. You know, how are you going to market it? What are other books on the market that are similar to this, and all these things. Like, I just wrote it all down, just sent it off, and it didn't take long. And I had contacted like 4 or 5 publishers, and one of them just said, this is great, let's do it. And I just started writing. And I did most of it with voice recognition. So I just sat here in this chair and just talked for hours, and I had it all written down. And then, you have to read it back because there are some mistakes in there. But then I had this huge document, which, of course, in the beginning, it all sounds great. But at some point, you lose structure. Then, okay, did I write this already? And then you find, fuck, I actually wrote the same thing on page 5 and on page 45. Yeah. What am I going to do with that? And then you sort of painstakingly go through all that, and then you try to make it into a shape, and then you do little headings, and then you put all the headings into the table of contents, and you see, okay, if I'm talking about this and this, then I should also probably be talking about this, which is very similar, but I haven't mentioned it. And so then you sort of put it into that structure, and then you sort of rewrite it, because sometimes the chapters, they don't have great, they don't transition well. So then you have to make the transitions. So yeah, for me, it was a very unstructured approach. But yeah, then finally I put it all into the final form. But it took me, with a lot of time, like discussing also the terms and conditions and everything. But like the whole process, maybe like 2 years. It could have been much faster, but a lot of it was also discussing the terms and conditions, which next time would be much faster. Also because we have ChatGPT now. That would probably have been like 4 days, but for me it was 4 months, because I had to read all the things and research everything. And then they didn't want to do audiobook. I wanted one, so they gave me back the rights for my own audio, which was cool.
Nice.
And I just I hit up an old friend who I worked for many years ago, and he has a little, very, very little studio. And then I sort of went in there with my little PDF and my audio recorder. And I basically read every second sentence twice.
Nice.
Because
why every second?
Yeah. Well, and just some word didn't come out right, and then I had to do it again and again and again.
That would be a painstaking editing process. I would hate to be the editor on that.
You know what? Because I didn't want to be the editor on that. Rather, I spent, I think it was 4 weeks on, and I started before I was doing it, before I did the recordings. I spent 4 weeks writing my own Python tool to edit out those mistakes. So now I have a Python tool which can take the script and take your transcript from your recording and remove everything that's not in the script. And the thing about that, which was very difficult to get right, is that it has to keep the second version of every sentence. And you think it's easy, you can just reverse the text. No, that was so hard to get a matching logic right that always keeps the second iteration of any sentence that is in both. Which is it's just a technical thing, but I to this day, I've even tried to hire people to do that. They couldn't do it. I put it out on Fiverr. They couldn't do it. I had to do it myself with very, very, very many repetitions on ChatGPT, and then finally I got a version that was 85-90% correct, and I thought, okay, the rest I'm going to do by hand. But it did actually shorten my raw file from 12 to 6 hours.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if you're reading everything twice, I guess there's double the work, but still, it's a lot of editing time.
Yes. The
and
6
I'm
hours
complaining about editing
still...
podcasts. But this is one of those things you've probably run into this quite a lot yourself. Is what do you take on yourself, and what do you bring on someone else to take on? Whether it's writing a book, editing, publishing, clips, it's, you know, even with the stuff that you're doing, coaching and helping people, it's like, well, what can I have maybe a VA do, and what can I do? Because where's my time best spent to help and service other people? And is it worth investing some of my profits back into this? Even if I don't make a lot of money right now, how do I, like, that's like for me right now, no matter how much money I make in the next couple months, I'm probably not going to keep much of it, because I'm in a phase where I know investing into things to buy back my time is more valuable. So now I can do more cash flow positive activities.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. And, you know, I've had those thoughts as well. And for me, it might be even more extreme, because especially in the health coaching area, the most important activity is actually one that's not paid at all, which is research. And yeah, I'm actually thinking about how can I offload more of the inbound to somebody else, so I can spend more time on the research, so I can be better at the actual coaching and like deliver more value, and in that way be more attractive for people who need somebody to help them, right?
Yeah, I think
Like really like really that like, because there's so many people who are sort of fed up with the medical system, but they don't really know where to start, right? They've, like, just like me in 2011, when I just was at that doctor's office, and he said, like, no, you're getting older at 21, which is normal, so you have heart problems. No, it's not normal. And back then I had no idea where to start, and I want to be that guy that I would have needed back then, that you can sort of have a call with and sort of pitch, okay, this is happening to me right now. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. Help me find the problem. Maybe even if you, Felix, cannot fix it, help me find what it is and who can fix it. Show me the guy, and I'll go from there,
Yeah. Yeah. Totally, man. Well, hey, we're coming up on, what is it, an hour 13 right now. So
yeah,
I feel like we could talk for another hour, but I don't want to edit another hour. So I'll have you back on for sure. When I every episode I'm learning stuff, and so I'm excited to, some of my favorite guests and my friends, I want to bring you back on when I'm a little bit more established and I can lend you more of an audience and more views. And so I'm really appreciative of you coming on, man, in the first place. And I'm glad we met. I'm glad we're friends.
It was a blast.
If you want to take the next few minutes and just, where can people find you? What is your offering, your business right now, if people are in need of that? And any final messages you want to share or convey?
Yeah, sure. So depending on when this comes out, I'll be at, of course, at reversingpkd.com, and also at felixsmueller.com. And the latter will be my more general page, which is going to be for people who, as I just alluded to, they just need a mentor sort of person who is showing them what their problem is and how they can start addressing it. So like, like the health detective, really. Reaching out, I have this and this and this, let's talk about it. And then I can say, I know what that is, or I have heard about this, and I know this is the expert, or, I'm just sort of the guy who's going to get you to the right person. Or if I can do it myself, I'm of course going to do it myself, especially if it's metabolic, like diabetes or kidney issues. So yeah, those are both going to be at felixsmueller.com, or if you already know you have polycystic kidney disease, of course, that's going to be at reversingpkd.com. But yeah, those are going to be the two things. And I'm also looking forward to because I'm just starting to offer this more health detective type stuff, which I've been doing for years, but I've never formally called it that. But now I'm like putting a name on it, which is I'm not entirely sure what the name's going to be, but it's going to be something in along the lines of that. Because then I will actually also align my research time with being profitable too, which is important to keep going, right? And then I can spend a lot more time researching what people actually have, and then helping them directly with those things.
I love it. Sherlock microbes. You should live stream.
Yeah.
You should live stream your research sessions. Just go on Twitch and just share your screen and just maybe that's a way to monetize
I guess
it.
there's a lot of people out there who might actually watch that.
Yeah, even just as background.
Yes,
as a background video while they're doing their own homework or whatever.
It's just like a gaming session, you know.
Yeah, that's dude. I was
maybe even more interesting.
I don't play a lot of video games right now because I don't have time and I'm trying to be productive with my life. But the Call of Duty, what is it? Black Ops 7 beta is out right now, and
I've seen that actually, and I never see video game stuff. Why did I see that?
Maybe because I'm watching it. Maybe that's why.
Yeah, maybe that's the algorithm. Yeah.
So I downloaded it. I've been playing it the last couple of days, and I'm like,
really?
oh man, I miss this. Is fun. But now because of the way my brain works, because again, I haven't really played much video games for years. I was like, well, if I'm gonna take any time to do this kind of stuff, maybe I should just stream it, and I should continue the building of my brand by doing even my leisure activities, but like for an audience, so I can, So I was actually. I spent probably an hour last night just researching how to use a MacBook Pro, a PS5, stream it effectively. So I know I got to buy like a capture card. I got to download OBS. I got to I know now so who knows? Maybe you might see me on #GreekManGames. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Actually, my PlayStation tag for years has been European Ninja 21.
Really? You're not even European right now.
Well, I'm Greek and Italian. I just live in Canada.
Yeah, like from descent. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I made it when I was like 12, to be honest. And Ninja because I took karate when I was a kid.
Nice. That's cool. Did you get like any specific belt? Is that what they get?
Yeah. Excuse me. I got to my brown belt, and then I was excited to get my black. I was training for it, and then I got mononucleosis when I was in high school. So then, and they told me like if you got to stop doing physical sports because if you get hit in the kidney, you could like die. You could rupture and you could die.
Oh, Jesus!
And I was like, oh,
but then you never started back again.
Well, because then I finished high school, and then I went to university, and then I moved cities, and unfortunately, I never got to complete it.
Wow, that's unfortunate.
I know it's
well.
Like
anyway, you would have still
kicked
my ass with my yellow orange judo belt.
Well, when we meet finally in person, we'll have to spar. That'll be the
oh God,
right in the airport. I'll pick you up from the airport if you come visit Toronto. And we'll just
then we get going directly at it. That's good.
Immediately arrested on arrival.
Yes. It's one of those international incidents.
Yeah. Germany and Canada feud today at local Pearson Airport as two. Hey man, great to talk to you. Great to have you on. We got to do this definitely again sometime soon. And as your brand keeps growing, I know you're pumping out more videos. The website's about to launch. We'll do this maybe in a handful of months when things are on the move, and we can touch base on where you're at that point.
Yeah, sounds good, man.
Cool. Felix,
thanks for having me.
Everybody, go follow. And hey, if you end up posting this in your Facebook group, for anybody listening, Sheila in Missouri, you still owe me $5 from Facebook Marketplace. I'm just joking. Thanks, buddy.
She's in the group and she knows who she is.
I know she's escaping me. She's evading my payment. Thanks, Felix.
Cheers.